Right, mate. Yeah, pleasure to have you here, Rhys. Honestly, like it is. I seen you first of all in like an article about what you were doing for this challenge you've done recently. Do you want to talk us through it a little bit? And
yeah, well, no. Thanks for getting in touch, really, mate. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, no problem, mate.
I like this setup. It's awesome. What have I done recently? I've run the entire length of the Wales Coastal Path. So from Chester to Chepstow via Anglesey, as I like to say, because that just felt like a diversion. 870 miles, but 881 actually, because I got lost a little bit.
Oh, never. So you got to add a bit on.
11 miles, but that's okay over that distance.
Yeah.
And I did it in 20 days, 10 hours and 36 minutes.
Brilliant. So that is a new record.
New record. The record holder was watching the whole thing unfold as it went by. It was he was very really nice and
really supportive, considering you were
great. Yeah. Considering I was going for his record, but he lives in New Zealand now. He is a Welshman, but he's emigrated over to New Zealand, and I think his first words were he's happy for it to go to another Welshman.
Ah, fair play to him. So he's a good spirit.
Yes,
yeah.
He's a good lad.
Sport, like fair play.
Good sport, yeah.
How did you cope with it? Did you have like a meticulous plan of how you were going to go about it?
Yeah, you always have a plan going into it, but I think we always know it's going to adapt. It's always going to fall apart, and then you have to rebuild it in certain ways. We did have a stringent plan that went out the window within like 2 or 3 days, and then by the end of it, it's almost like you're putting out fires. You're just trying to stop. I don't know. My ankle went really badly. I did my ankle anymore. Funny enough, I really hurt my wrist and back of my tricep just from using sticks. Didn't fall over or anything, like banged or anything. It was literally, I can't really lift or push off this wrist. It was that bad.
From gripping, just
gripping
constantly,
and just driving into the ground, because to get up, well, it was like the equivalent of going up Everest like 4.5 times. So it was a lot of climbing. So you imagine when you got poles, you just sort of use them to try and save the legs in a way.
Compensate on the legs
Compensate,
a bit.
yeah, and it's a good little tool really, because even though sometimes you'd be running flat, but it just helps you keep balance as well. So I only fell over like 3 times. Yeah. And like one of them was quite bad. The other 2 were okay. It was,
I bet like the concentration levels. I know, like, you know, when you start getting towards many miles, everything, you know, your concentration goes in like little routes and stuff. I'm sure it would be quite off-putting.
It's quite tricky, yeah. You're right with the level of concentration. It feels like everybody's like, well, it must have been beautiful the whole way. And it was when I stopped. When you're running, you just constantly. I run naturally looking at the floor anyway. It's because I've got a massive head and it's heavy. That's what I like to do.
Don't put yourself down, go on.
But it did help me in a way, because I was constantly looking at the floor. So with the roots, with the uneven ground, with the puddles and everything, you usually fall over or trip up in. I managed to avoid. Like 3 times I did trip over one tree root. Yeah. And that was when I really stacked it. You know when you stack it, when like your body just goes from completely underneath you, and like when you just land on your shoulder, and I hit the deck, and I was with my brother and a couple of friends at the time, and they were like, just get up slowly. And I was like, I'm okay, like I've hit the deck. You know, you sort of feel yourself, and you're like, well, my collarbone hasn't gone, my shoulders are not dislodged or anything. And I got up slowly, got up, and then I realised actually where I'd landed on the side of the path, and actually I'd landed in like the bushes. Yeah. And underneath the bushes there was nothing, it was just apart from drop down to the sea.
Oh my god.
I didn't realise that at the time, but that's why they were like, get up slowly and just get the hell away from it. Basically.
Get your bearings first.
Yeah.
It's different, isn't it? Like as you get older, when you're a kid you just brush them things off, don't you? As you get older, it's like falling over is one of the worst things you could do. It sounds so like pathetic when you look back, but
mate, it is. It's I think one of the other times I tripped, I didn't trip, I slipped on wet grass, so I literally slipped and went backwards. And I had my sticks with me, and my stick literally was like comedy fashion. It just like wrapped around my head, and I managed to hit myself on the back of the head a bit. And I remember literally thinking, I was like, I can either get really angry right now, or I can just laugh. And I was like, I'm just going to laugh, because otherwise it's going to ruin the rest of the day. And that was another time I fell over. And it was just it's tricky to sort of navigate as well. So the navigation, I had GPX, obviously I had the tracker on me, I had all these sort of tools, but there's nothing better than having a local who knew the track, and they were like, just follow me, and they just guide you through. It was that was quite blissful really when you do that, because it takes a weight off your shoulder in a way. So obviously you want to follow the track the whole way, and when somebody else can do it for you, you just like
one less thing to think
Yeah,
about.
it's one less thing to think about.
There's a lot on your plate whilst you're doing that, isn't there?
Yeah, you're juggling a lot of things, and like mentally, it's just as mental as it is physical. Really, the challenge is.
I would say so. Yeah. So, how did you bear up injury-wise? Did much kind of?
I've done similar things to this before, like never on this sort of level or this difficult, but it's not like I knew what to expect. I knew my body would break, and then I knew my body would sort of recuperate and then start going upwards again. I didn't know when it was going to happen.
Yeah.
Over 20 days, I anticipated it around day 12. It came about like day 10, and my body was just completely broken, and my ankle, it didn't even go over on it or anything.
Yeah.
It was just the constant, because it was uneven ground,
Yeah.
and on an angle, it was just constantly battering itself, and it just started swelling up, and like at the end of the day, you were like just icing it, getting it up, trying to rest it. It was putting out a fire, but then the next day I was standing it, and it'd be just as painful. And we ended up getting a load of cocodamol, and the cocodamol acted as my painkillers in the end. Just so I could move on it. It was like that was the worst injury I had. Like I said, I busted up my wrist, but when you're running, it's sort of one of those things you just deal with because you can sort of get around it in a way.
Yeah.
Although I did obviously do quite a bit of damage to it, it's still injured now.
Would you say it's the hardest one you've done so far?
It's the most satisfying.
Yeah.
Satisfied I've ever been at the end of the challenge. Yes, it was extremely difficult. Just for if I was to pick out one challenge that I've done, I'd say yes, 100%. It was the most difficult one, but I've done a lot of other things which difficult for other reasons.
Yeah.
Just as difficult for other reasons, so like extreme heat or altitude or being on a bike, which I'm terrible at.
Yeah, you're not into the biking.
I am, as you can go a hell of a lot faster.
Yeah.
And you can do a lot. You can go like obviously like Route 66 or something cool like that, and like actually do it in a reasonable time.
Yeah.
But when it comes to balancing or going downhill on a bike, I am absolutely garbage. Like I've gone up the Alpe d'Huez over in France, which is like 21 hairpin bends. I've gone up that in a morph suit before, and I was overtaking the locals. I didn't mean to. I just did it for charity. I didn't think people would get offended. You could see as I was going past people, they thought I was taking the piss, and I wasn't.
Yeah.
So they obviously thought I was.
Well, because you were in the morph suit, or
because I was in the morph suit, and I genuinely I couldn't see to this microphone. Basically, I was like that blind.
Oh, fully face covered as
fully
well.
Fully face covered. You have to if you're in a morph suit. You have to. Otherwise, you're cheating. What's the point?
Nothing.
You're just wearing lycra, and everybody wears lycra anyway. So I had the full morph suit over my head, going around like a corner, and one of the locals came out, and I couldn't really see what he was like doing or what he was doing to come close to me.
Yeah.
And he wasn't on his bike, he was just standing there, and I was like, oh god, this is an angry local or something like that. And it wasn't, it was somebody who was actually trying to help me, and he was trying to push me up the mountain. But I was trying to stop for a drink, so he pushed me, and I bloody fell off the bike. So it did look like he was coming for a nice reason, but at the time it looked like he'd come over and
trying to attack me.
Oh yeah, the support crew were like, what the hell's going on here? And I fallen off the bike outside the Houses of Parliament in a morph suit again, and like caused a massive traffic jam.
You're not having a good time in these morph suits. One thing, that's the last piece of clothing you ever want to take.
Oh mate, yeah, exactly. And you know what, the chafing you get off it is not worth it. And you're trying to take a fluid through a morph suit, because you got the hood over, you can't. You have to like suck through the bottom, and by the end of it, you got this huge like wet patch over your face. So, all right, it could be sweat, but it's mainly like
and they go proper like rank, don't they? Gels.
Well, I can't stand gels. Generally, it's something that I try to avoid, just because I get it for like a half marathon or something, which is not a long a long time, you know.
Yeah.
It's reasonable. But when you do something for hours and hours or days upon days, gels just really eat you up, and they don't provide you nutrition, which for an ultra and doing stuff like that, you need some sort of good nutrition going in your body. Like I like to say proper food, like stuff which you like eating, stuff which you know is going to give you energy. Like people say like pasta, pizza and stuff like that. That's what we tend to go for.
Yeah, that's great. Me and my cousin did one recently. Well, I say we did one. It was like made up by ourselves.
Yeah.
We did Brecon to like just after Abergavenny and back on the canal.
Nice,
50 miles, and you know, obviously no sort of pace like you, but that was half the battle. Like we kind of stocked up on gels, thinking that was the way forward, and sort of 40 miles, I just literally couldn't take anything else on. I was like, just felt sick, and they don't do your stomach any favours.
They don't, mate. It's literally they go right. Literally, they'll just go through. They'll give you that sugar high, and then literally that's bang. It's like there's nothing there that's going to last you, especially for 52 miles. You said
50 it was.
50 miles, and it's just not. Yeah, when you've got like 2 or 3 miles to go,
Yeah.
not when you start and you're 2, 3 miles in, it's just not going to help. Like, when you have a coffee, you get like the caffeine kick,
Yeah.
exactly the same as gels, you get that initial rush.
Yeah, and then
it's
you're back down there
yeah,
straight away, aren't you?
You're back down there. Well, you're better off having something which is slow burning, something which, to be honest, I don't like the taste of gels, so something which actually tastes nice as well.
Yeah, I know, they're really off-putting.
Yeah, and I sometimes describe ultras as like running, but with a picnic. Cause
Yeah.
you get to eat properly when you get to your friends, your family, or checkpoints, because they do tend to have snacks.
Yeah.
When you get there.
Yeah, it's a bit of like an eating competition as well, isn't
It
it?
is, mate. I'm pretty good at that.
You need to be, mate. How did you fuel up for the did you have a goal of how many miles a day?
Yeah, so we always had the target of getting there in 19 days. And that was because the record was like 20 and a half days, and we wanted that day grace stuff going wrong. Like, yes, we said we were going to go for 19 days, but in reality, we probably knew it was going to be between 19 and 20, and it ended up being 20 and 10 hours. But when it comes to that, yeah, you had a daily target of like, we were aiming for 45 miles a day, but we knew James, who was the record holder, he had like, I think his worst day was like 26 miles.
Yeah.
So in my head, I'm like, well, if my worst day comes, just make sure it's not less than 26 miles, and you're still going to be within touching distance while it comes to the end of the challenge. I think my worst day was like 34, 35 miles. So
It's a pretty good day.
no, it was. I did well to get those mileage because that day was just apocalyptic weather. It was on the Llyn Peninsula, and the day before, the locals came out and they were running with me, and they pushed me further than I wanted to go that day because they knew I had to get past a certain point because the weather was coming in the next day. And when the locals start saying the weather's going to be bad, that's when you're like,
It's a high chance it's going
to be bad. And I woke up the next day, or didn't actually wake up, I was woken up by the weather. Like, you could hear it just outside, and like, oh my God. Went to the start line. I remember going to the start line and just thinking, right, just be positive, be positive. Like, don't let Karis and my wife, she was the support crew throughout. Just don't let us, just be positive and just put on a brave face. And literally I put on a brave face, I was trying to be like banter and have a bit of fun. Got out of the car, put my hood up and put the zip up. I was like, oh, this is absolutely miserable. I almost burst into tears.
Yeah.
And then you've got a constant headwind for like 30 miles. It's up and down, it's up and down. The terrain and the foot was really muddy and sloppy, and you're just slipping all over the place. Like, the wind was so strong at one point when it was hit me from the side. I couldn't even use my poles because the poles, I was trying to put them down to the ground and they're just blowing to the side. So it's just absolutely useless, and you end up tripping yourself with the bloody poles. And that day, though, it was just like, Keris knew what we were in for, I knew what we were in for, and the idea was just this was going to be the shit day.
Yeah.
Just don't lose too many miles, and we put down 34, 45 miles.
Fair play. I bet you were playing some serious mind games on yourself for you to try and get through it.
I love listening to music, so I just put the music in and just disappear into the what, I guess, myself.
Yeah.
But that day, a chap came out about 2 miles in, Mike Asbit, never met him before, and he came out to help me. He came out to see me and run a few miles with me, which was pretty cool, especially in this terrible weather.
Yeah.
And he guided me through it, and I remember like an hour after he joined, he was like, oh, look down there. And looking down at loads of seals just like on the rocks chilling out. They look like upside down, they look like sausages, you know, the hot dogs?
Yeah.
They look like those, but silver. And I just remember looking and going, oh, it's not that bad. Like, not many people are going to see this in their lives, and I'm here now. There's not any of them that are out here doing this, so just try to make the most of it.
I bet that brings you some like mental power, knowing like you're doing what a lot of people
you
really dream of doing, really.
You feed off the energy of like when you go one step closer, one step closer, one step closer. And I think that day I started off and I didn't have a checkpoint until like 18 miles in.
Yeah.
Which is 18 miles with the pace I was going at, like 4.5 hours, something like that. So when I got to there, going through all that terrible weather, I was just like, yes, it's been difficult, but I'm still standing.
Yeah.
It can't get any worse. I know it can't get any worse than this because it's terrible weather. You've done well, and then you start getting not confident, but you feel more strong within yourself, and then you're like, oh, 18 miles in, right, okay, so that day I only did 35 miles, so that was only another 17 miles on top of it, and I knew I could break that down into like manageable chunks, so a lot of it is mind games, and sort of, you see it as 45 miles or something like that, but actually in theory it's like 10 miles, 10 miles, 10 miles, 10 miles, 5 miles.
You can't look at it as one big task.
No, and you look at it as rewarding yourself when you get to checkpoint with food, seeing Keris. It was lovely having her there because usually I'm out there by myself, and I just know she's at home, and you know, when you sort of apart from somebody and you just like wonder what they're doing, and like you're not really sharing your life together because you're both doing separate things.
Yeah.
This was like both of us like doing the same thing. All right, she was in the car and she was literally babysitting me for the whole time, whereas I was out there running. But we were both seeing Wales. In the
Oh, mate, I bet it was really cool. Like, yeah, I bet you had some great moments. And
yeah, it was like it's just like seeing Wales like not many other people have seen it. Like, I'm proud to say that I've covered every inch of that coastal path. I've gone through every bloody game style there is on that coastal path, and it's just like when you think about it, it's like Christ, that's just, yeah. To me, it blows my mind really, and it's sunk in, and it has sunk in quite a bit, but it doesn't hit me fully in the face what's been achieved yet. And the more you think about what's next, and you try to just like, I don't know, you just try to enjoy it for the moment.
Yeah.
And what you've achieved, and it always takes a while for me to sit in.
oh, mate, I know. It's kind of. I'm exactly the same afterwards. Like, yeah, you need time to yourself, I think, as well to process it, don't you? I bet.
Yeah, you do. What did we do? We came back, and I think we went on holiday like a week later to go just chill out and get me away from running. And it's difficult to do that because once you stop, you're like, well,
I bet it feels weird.
well, it is because you've got like 12, 14 hours of your day back. You're like, what the hell am I supposed to do with that time now? And it's like, just sit here and twiddle my thumbs. But,
Sorry, yeah. How long did you wait till after it before you went out for your next run?
One of my training sessions, so I am coached by a great guy, Lawrence, who's like a really close friend, but he's been my coach like as enduro prep for 4 or 5 years, and he's like really transformed the way I look at running. I think it's like maybe 3 weeks. I gave myself 3 or 4 weeks off before I went back into a proper training regime, and it was weird running when I came back. Because, I don't know if you've ever had it, but when you, what's the best way to describe it? I was running, but it felt like my feet weren't attached to my legs, and it felt like my legs weren't attached to my hips. I knew they were, but like they felt like they were going at different speeds. So like I didn't feel balanced in a way, and it was just weird, that running sensation again. It was almost like, what the hell is this discipline you're doing? But I think after a week or so, it's just gone back to normal now. I'm just back into my training.
Yeah, I bet it was weird because like, just how tight you must be after doing that for that many days. Or did you have like a strict stretching regime every day as well?
I went into it saying I'm going to stretch every day, with like do my best to foam roll, and didn't do any of it. My sports masseuse, Stuart, who's like another one of my coaches, like he teaches me like what to do and sort of how to recover. And I followed what he said, and then I just threw the stretching out the window. I didn't have time. I was just knackered at the end of the day. You just want to fall into bed, trying to get as much recovery as possible. But in terms of like finishing the challenge, I was battered and bruised and tired. But in terms of tightness, I wasn't that tight. Weird. My hamstrings were fine, my quads were fine, my hips have always locked anyway, and I think it was the loosest they've ever been. It was weird. Just from beating that every day, you'd think you'd just go like completely seize up. I was quite polar opposite.
Do you think it's because like in your mind you knew you had more to do, so you couldn't maybe let these things bother you in the same sort of way?
Possibly. So there's this thing my coach sort of pointed to me, and it was like, you know, when you're tapering or something like that, and you have like 2 easy-ish weeks before you go into a challenge. And it's like imposter syndrome where you think you got injuries, and you haven't, but it's your mind playing tricks on you, like, it's just your body's relaxing again in a way, like your muscles are coming back to life. So we call it imposter syndrome when like you think you got injuries and actually they're not there. It's a weird feeling like you're like, oh, my knee hurts, I've got something wrong with my quad, or my ankle's gone. And then going into the challenge, I had like terrible like guttural feeling like in my stomach, and it was just constant like bloatedness. Like it was just down to stress. Like I was nervous about the challenge.
I bet,
show. And it took 2 or 3 days into the challenge for that to go. It was like weird running like that. It was it wasn't comfortable. But and what Terrace pointed out to me, Lawrence, just like reassured me, it's nothing to worry about. It will just go. It's just the weight of the world on your shoulders, and you're stressing. And you think, I'm not stressing, but actually looking back, I was stressing.
Yeah, well, it's a massive thing to do, especially, you know, you put yourself out there as well, haven't you? It's not like you're doing this, you know, the world knows, don't they? You know, what you're planning to do, and
it's
carrying that around with you for weeks.
It's weird. So if it was me, if it was down to me and I wasn't doing it for charity, I probably would have gone out, done it, and then gone, or be, and I'll just announce it at the end. And, I would have said I'm doing it, but I probably wouldn't have said it going off the record. But I think then the other side of me is like, well, actually, you're going to have a go at the record. You know you're going to have a go at the record. Just let people know what's happening. In terms of like the charity and raising money and awareness for them, a record attempt is going to get a lot more attention rather than the stupid Welsh chap going out to run the Welsh Coastal Path, And it did give us a lot of ammunition for getting attention, for more donations, getting more.
That's all about, isn't it?
It is, mate, and that's always something I do. It's in a way it is a selfish reason. I always do it for charity, and it is because that shit day, for example, 35 miles a day, gives you that reason for not giving up, and gives you to sort of put that one step forward, that mentality, and it just gives you another hook. And I did it for free charities, so the idea was that's 3 hooks for me, which I just hook myself up, and you just don't let go, and you keep fighting for that reason, and it works more often than not. So
I think you can look at it in 2 ways. Like you said, you can look at it selfishly, it's going to help you achieve your goals, but at the end of the day, what you're doing really is positive for anyone. Like charity-wise, you're helping them out. Like just actually doing something like that will inspire other people to get off their arse and actually know this sort of thing is actually possible. Because a lot of people probably think that's next to impossible what you've done. It's not.
I've had it before. I've been told, and I don't know. People ask you actually a runner. What makes you say that? And you don't really look like a runner. What does a runner look like? Draw it for me, because when you come to ultra running, there's no body shape or there's no particular size. You can't pick an ultra runner out from a bunch. Obviously, there are people that are winning the races. You can tend to see them. But there's so many different levels of ultra running, and when somebody says you don't look like a runner, I just take a badge of pride or whatnot. It's just like, well, I am. I do put in the mileage. I might want the body shape than somebody else. It works for me. I do have a weird running stance where it's almost like my feet don't really leave the floor, and it's something I've done all my life. It's not like I've tried to change my stride for it, but actually with ultra running it helps, because I'm not having that massive impact of hitting the neck. It's like almost a shuffle across the floor, and then my knees don't tend to get much issues really. Touch wood. So
that's my worst thing is the knees.
You get an issue with the knees and you're in trouble.
Isn't it? I think mine is mostly from lack of stretching rather than anything else. But
I think that's my biggest regret. I wish I'd stretched sooner into my running. I thought running ultra city distances. I wish I'd started stretching properly, warming down, doing yoga, and really taking care of my body. Because now I'm playing catch up and it hurts. On my hips. Have you ever been to the gym and you get those, I think, abduction machines where you sit there and you close your legs like that? Good luck to me again. I try getting on one and I'm literally already stretching to get on it, and I sit on there and I'll put the weight on, and most people do reps. I just sit there and I try pushing it outwards with my legs on the outside, trying to stretch my groin and my hips, because they lock up really badly. So my sports physique is just every week, it's how do you do that? You're literally just your hips are just so tight and locked in, it's ridiculous. Every week you manage to make them tighter. I don't try to. It's just my natural.
I bet it's so hard though, doing what does your average week look like, Rhys?
When I'm training for something, when I'm fully training, or 80 to 100 miles a week.
Yeah, that's massive, isn't it?
It is, but then it's not. You break it down. Maybe a couple of runs a day, depends on what the schedule looks like. A bit of gym work. A bit of cross training, like a step-up machine or bike and stuff like that. But I think the biggest thing I do for training is just time on feet. It's not necessarily miles. I gave you 80 to 100 miles, but I never looked at it like that. It's always just 3-hour run, 4-hour run, 5-hour run, capped it like an 8 run the next day. So we try to do the running, so it's I prefer I like having my weekends. I love having my weekends to just chill. So my big run will always be on Wednesday. Then we'll back it up with another difficult run on Thursday. So the idea is you're running on tired legs. It could be a long run on Wednesday and then hills on a Thursday. You just really try grinding it out and making your body hurt.
Imitate the actual event, possibly to a certain degree.
What was it? 2018, I think. I did 24 marathons in 24 days. With my best buddy Rusty, who actually got me into running in 2006. We did that together in Cardiff, around the same park every day. And it's not a 26-mile park, it's a 4-mile loop, so we just go round and round and round. And what we ended up doing, it was just absolutely bonkers. But, what was it? I managed to hold up a full-time day job at the same
Really?
time. So yeah, I managed to do that whilst doing the marathons in 20 marathons in 24 days. I completely missed. What was I saying? What was the question? Why did I lead into 24 marathons?
I don't know, mate. I was so into what you were saying, my head's gone. I think I said what was an average week look like.
Was it? Yes, that was it.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing 24 marathons in 24 days. That was the challenge. That was the charity. That's what we raced for. Stupidly, I signed up to a 145-mile race, which was like 3 days after I was due to finish the 24 and 24.
Yeah.
And we're going into, oh my God, I'm going to be broken by the end of it. You know what? I got to the end of the 24 and 24. I was tired. I was broken. I'd gone through the process of breaking, and I'd become stronger. Got to the end of it. And yes, I felt tired and knackered and broken. But then 3 days later, I had 3 days rest. Went into that race, and it was the best I'd ever performed at 145 miles.
Really?
Yeah, I did like 36 hours, which
Yeah.
it was just unbelievable that to do that and then go into that. So in a way, looking back, it was 24 and 24 was like training.
Yeah.
So back to your point about you try making the training as most like the race as
That's
possible.
it, yeah.
That's what the 24 and 24 was like.
Yeah, fair. I know you've obviously done some other massive races and well-known ones. Like you're the first Welshman to do Badwater. Is that?
Yeah. First ever Welshman to do and compete and complete in Badwater 135 in 2019.
Yeah.
That journey started back in 2010. It was like I did the 2,000-mile run across America with Rusty, my brother.
Yeah.
We went from Boston to Austin. Rusty came up with the idea. We were followed by two good mates, John and Adam, and they used to cruise with us the whole time. But whilst we were on that run, we heard about this race over in America, Badwater 135, only the crazy had to go with it, and I was like reading this article, like, one day maybe, you know, one day, this is like for elite, so I'm like, oh, I'm started, like, never going to get there. And then 2014, 2015, 2016, and 2017, I went over to Death Valley every year, and Death Valley is where the Badwater's do.
Yeah.
So to explain what Badwater is 135-mile race non-stop through the hottest place on earth, which is Death Valley, up and down 3 mountain ranges, and you finish at like a ridiculous animation. It's called the Race of Champions. It's called the toughest race on earth. I truly believe that.
Yeah.
It's absolutely bonkers. Like the heat over there.
That's hard to prep for.
I think I had it up to like 52. The world record was like 56 or something like that, and your head's just like completely like fried. You can feel, you just feel it on your body straight away, like the breathing is difficult for the first couple of miles because you're just breathing in hot air. The road surface, like you fry an egg, like that's how hot it gets. So like you imagine the heat wave, what happens when you put your foot in an oven, which is pretty much what you're doing, it's going to swell up.
Yeah.
So your feet is just take the battering straight away. You're running on black asphalt or tarmac, whatever you want to call it. So you've got that coming out, you've got the wind hitting you, which is boiling hot, you've got the sun baking down on you, 135 miles non-stop. But I made the point of going over it in 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, and doing it. I did the race by myself. So it's not a race, it was just the challenge of doing it. And I did that for charity. And I probably did that, one, to get experience of it, and two, I wasn't ever sure if I'd ever get in the race. I wanted to experience it for myself. And they call it Badwater Solo. So technically I did that 4 times, and then when the second year I went, I did a double, so I went there and back, which was 270 miles, which was 100 hours. It was just
In that heat.
Oh
my God.
Relentless, mate. And then luckily, or I guess luckily, 2018 I backed off, didn't go to the Death Valley and focused on a running CV, should we call it, and experience and did some qualifying races, and then threw my hat into the mix. January 2019, and then February 2019 they announced it, which was like one of the most surreal moments of my life. They do like Facebook Live, only 100 people get to run it every year, and you get thousands, like 10,000 people apply for it, and I got chosen. And I was just like, wow, like, it was just one of those moments where you just like lost for words. You can't believe you're reading out your voice, your name.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, Kara's sitting next to me, and she's watching, and like, they don't say your name first of all, they give like tidbits about the person. And this guy's from the UK, this guy's from Wales. So in my head, I'm going like, what a crazy person is applying for this. I don't think my brother's applying for it, so I'm alright. So I'm just thinking like that. And then he goes on about like how he's a massive cystic fibrosis supporter, and I'm like, that's what I do.
Yeah.
And he's still like, that's definitely not me, that can't be me. And then there's another bit of information, and you see Keris in the corner like wilding up, like getting excited, and I'm still there, like just sitting there waiting for the name, and then they say Rhys Jenkins, and I literally burst into tears and didn't know what to do. It was, I think we got a video of it somewhere. It's just like,
it's crazy.
I had a marker pen in my hand at the time, and you know when you're like nervous, or when you like just start drawing and doodling. I didn't realise I was doing it on paper, and it was going through the paper onto the desk. So at home, the desk is like marked up.
Good memories though. Yeah, I bet that was mental. What a feeling.
It was really cool. And then this year I got back in for the race, and unfortunately the race got pulled because of what we're going through.
Yeah, weird, isn't it?
It is, mate. I think this year's the race of your own personal challenge like you've done, doing 50 miles.
I think so as well.
I think control the controllables and just go out after it. I think there's not going to be any races this year.
So you're obviously got your own company, race director, Pegasus Ultra Running.
Yeah.
You obviously hoping 2021 is going to be the year you can stick a few more events on, I'm guessing?
Yeah, 2020 was supposed to be the big year for us, in terms of adding a couple more races to the calendar. But you know what, you've got to look at it as a positive in terms of, right, people haven't been able to race, we get that, we obviously couldn't put any races on for people. But in a way, it's created more of a demand for people wanting to do races as well. Like people have gone, well, actually an ultramarathon, that's achievable, I can go after that. And they've got like a whole year to prepare and stuff like that. So 2021, we've got 6 races now, which we go from 30 miles up to 50 miles, and that's our niche, that's our specialty. So we've got 230s, 240s and 250s, and the idea is, well, one, to showcase Wales, because I've run in different places around the world. Wales is up there, 100%. We're blessed with like mountains, valleys, rivers. We've got everything, it's just we don't shout about it. So the idea is to get Wales up there, a place to run. The other one is to get people into ultra running, because genuinely, if you're willing to put in the time and effort, it's achievable. It is, like I said, a run with a picnic. It's something which we don't have cut times on the races, which is, people call it our USP. We didn't do that as a selling point. We just did it because we wanted to take away one of the pressures of ultra running. And one of the pressures is, if you look at London Marathon, it's always the time. People get timed out. Any race, you get timed out. And I get it, because sometimes you have to have those limitations because you're running on roads and stuff. Our races are all on trails, in national parks. There is in these places where there aren't gates that close, there aren't traffic. You're in the middle of nowhere, and the only reason we put a cut time in it is because we couldn't be asked to wait. No, we're happy to hang around in these beautiful places with you, as long as you don't pitch up a tent, should we say? Have a go with it.
I think that's great, because so many people wouldn't probably go for it knowing there's a cut-off time, because they'd have the worry of, I'm not going to make it. So I think, like, for people who want to get involved in it and are a little bit afraid of maybe not making the time, that's great, isn't it?
Well, it's still the same challenge, it's still the same distance.
Definitely,
And you know what, the people that do take their time usually take the views in more often than not enjoy it more as well. And like, the people that come in at the tail end usually have the biggest smiles on their faces. They're most grateful for you being there. And it's just, well, you've paid, you've trained, we owe it to you to be there for you, and you know what, we're just waiting outside in a beautiful place for you.
I think it's a great attitude to have towards it, to be honest, because it kind of takes away from, like, a lot of these companies, you know, just money making, and like that kind of takes away from that. You're concentrating on the person and what they want, and that's the main thing, isn't it?
Yeah, we try to cap our races on numbers, and we write everybody's name handwritten on their bibs and stuff like that. Try to make it as personal as possible, so we actually call you by name and not a number. Genuinely, I do have a good memory. So if somebody's been at our race before, more often than not, I'll be able to pull them out and just like recognise it. Something we do for people who have their birthdays when they're on a race day, we'll literally get them a cut cake and we'll put it on the checkpoints for them, give them a birthday badge, and people to sing happy birthday to them.
That's wicked, mate.
Little things, really.
Have you got, like, are they planned in the diary, or are you kind of still waiting for things to play out?
No, they're all scheduled already. We tend to work in a season. I call it a season because in Wales we're not really blessed with amazing weather. And in the summers are pretty unruly as well, but we go from April, May, June, July, August, September. There's a race every month. It's always the first Saturday of the month. So you get 3 weeks in between races. So we do have some crazy people out there who like to do the Pegasus Slam, which last year was only, 3 races? Next year is going to be 6, so
That's
we're
brilliant.
making it more difficult for people, but there's people who've signed up for all of them, and the idea is if you want to have a go at them, all have a go at them.
Yeah, mate, that's cool. Like, yeah, is there slots available now?
Yeah, mate, there's plenty of slots knocking around. It's just, well, we only just launched the races really, so we're
Yeah.
sort of going down that route. And you've run half of the route of one of the races anyway. Now you just told me that. From
Yeah, yeah.
out there on the
Yeah, I think I seen it actually on your Instagram pop up.
Oh yeah.
It was that route, and I was like, God, that's crazy. Like,
It's a lovely little run though. It's got the
I didn't
potential
feel
for-
like it was a lovely little run when I was doing it.
It's got potential for a quick time because
Yeah.
there's not many killer climbs in it.
Exactly,
The
yeah.
only climbs you come to are like the bridges and stuff.
Yeah. It's not too bad. To be honest, kind of the way we looked at it was, you know, we actually did one the year before where it was mostly walking, to be fair, because I was just way out. It was like 18 stone or something then.
Wow.
And it actually was that March or April this year. So,
You did that with 18 stone.
well, no, I got down to like what I am now,
Yeah.
about 14,
Right.
to do this.
Right. Okay.
So I'm hoping next year. Well, I'll definitely jump on one of your events for sure. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Look forward to it.
And hopefully be a bit lighter for that as well.
Oh mate, everybody, there's ultra runners coming in all shapes and sizes.
Yeah. I think like you said before, it's massively a mental battle as well, isn't it?
It is. I think it's realising actually it's achievable,
Yeah.
finding that, committing to it, and then training for it. And I think the biggest thing you can do is, yes, time on feet, also don't compare yourself to other people. I think that's the one thing I've learned, because you say yourself, you go down a lot of rabbit holes,
Yeah.
waste your time trying to copy somebody else. Different body structure,
Yeah.
capabilities, like their bodies can go through a lot more pressure or less pressure than you. You know, it's what fits for somebody probably won't fit for you. You need to find your own way,
Yeah.
figure out your own kit, figure out what food works for you. Like, I love burgers.
Yeah.
It wouldn't work for most people. People go, oh my god, this is
How
disgusting.
could you do that? Yeah.
How can you do that? Well, it works for me. I'm going to continue to
It's
use
obviously
it.
working as well.
Yeah, it's helping. Like, literally, that's one thing about Welsh Coastal Path, they don't have money, you have time on it.
No.
I think we had like 3 or 4 opportunities, but like 870 miles, you can't, like, if you went over to America and did that, you'd have about like, I don't know, 870.
Yeah, for sure, mate. I bet when you did that 2,000 miles, you were living on it, were you?
Oh my god, that was, so we went into that not really, what did we do? We spent more time running it than we did planning it, so you can imagine the level of detail I went into this now. We hadn't really, I'd run, but I'd never really run I think I'd run 1 marathon, that was it.
That's mental.
Jumped in the deep end, didn't know what we were doing. We got sponsored by Puma. Don't know how we managed to flash that. Literally had all this Puma kit. But like, they'd given us rain jackets. The rain jackets were sailing jackets. You ever tried running in a sailing jacket?
Never worn a sailing jacket, I think.
Oh my god, they were expensive. They had like all these dials and stuff. And like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then it's a sailing jacket, so it's got an vent in it. So actually, you're sweating your balls off. And you may as well just have your jacket off.
Yeah.
It's so wet and you covered like from the inside out. Puma sponsored this. We started off that journey. The idea was to run a marathon a day. Within a week, we broke ourselves. Like literally, the guy Rusty I was running with, he picked up shin splints, and like it's not the shin twinges, it's the shin splints where like his calf swelled up to like the size of his shin. It was just like one big elephant basically. And you could see the bubbles. I don't know if you've ever seen the bubble when you get shin splints.
Yeah, I've got them on my legs. Yeah.
Oh, they're painful. He took a pin and literally just wound it into his shin. He's a hard Texan, yeah, so he's just like that. Bang. I'm there, like, completely, like, just about to be sick. And he pulls the pin out and just starts massaging to get all this, like, fluid coming out of his shin. I'm just there, like, gagging completely. It was the wrong move because it made his shin, like, go even worse and, like, quite infected.
I was going to say, yeah. I was going to say he's lucky he didn't get infected, but he did.
Well, we switched our approach. So the way we ended up looking at it was, alright, we saw a week as 8 days rather than 7. So we'd run for 7, break on the 8th, run for 7, break on the 8th, and we just repeated that pattern. And that 1 day rest really helped us massively. Mentally and physically, it was just lovely to have that reward. And you get to the end of the 7th day and you just feel like, I've got a day off tomorrow, I'm not moving, I'm going to eat Ben and Jerry's all day, nobody can stop me.
Yeah.
And then the end of that day would just go with a blink of an eye, and you're like, God, back to the start again. But you're like, alright, 1 day, 2 days, and then by the end you get another rest day. we ended up doing that. By the end, we were logging like 35 mile days, 35 mile days. I think the furthest we ran in one day was like 61 miles.
Yeah.
We did that for fun. We did that because it was my dad's 61st birthday, and we were like, well, let's just mark it for, let's just go out and do it. We did, it was stupid, like, but we ended up doing it, and we got it the next day and went again. It was just, learned a lot from that trip, and like you mentioned about the nutrition and what we ate and stuff. We lived off like $1 Mark meals.
Yeah.
Which is like microwavable meals. Literally, you just pop them in, eat those. Ben and Jerry's, McDonald's, Dairy Queen, whatever. We could get Subway. So we were being quite. We'd go into Subway and you get really fit for your refills, don't you?
Yeah.
So we go in, filling up those massive containers they give you, walking out, filling up our water bottle, walking back in. Just kept repeating that. It's all sugary stuff like Volt and Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
But like we're just living off this stuff completely. Our teeth must have rotted badly. But we ended up getting it done. It was a hell of a trip. It was 75 days in total.
It's crazy as one of your first challenges.
It was. Didn't know anything, mate. Went into it literally completely like just deep end, jumped right in, and came out of it like, oh my god, how did we survive that? We're all alive. Felt amazing for doing it, but like blessed actually.
I bet you're doing so much.
You do. I learned so much on that trip. I learned a lot about myself, and just the relationships you form. Like the 4 people I was with. So my brother Scott, Rusty, best friend, John, best friend, Adam, best friend. They're all people that are still in my life and people that I look up to. You have to have mutual respect. And you went through all that.
Yeah.
And you always have those memories.
Yeah, that was the same with me. My cousin, even if it was only it's nothing compared to what you did. But after that 50 miles, like it's only you two that kind of know what you've been through that day from everyone else that's there.
It's I think it's the feeling of shared suffering.
Yeah, it is.
You know the other person's going through it, but in a way it helps because you feel like, oh, I'm not out here by myself.
Yeah, we're both doing it. It does drive you on. I bet that's like, because obviously it was only us two, I bet that's a great thing about doing an event like yours, is there's so many other people in the same boat, so it kind of drives you on.
It is, mate. It's cool, and you always tend to make good friends as well from the people you're running with. Like chap Chris Hewitt, we ended up doing it was a lovely race, but terrible weather. Last November, it was like 75 miles on Glyndŵr Way, mid Wales.
All right.
Brutal, and we ended up bumping into each other about 20 miles in, and I say we bumped into each other actually. The true story is, it was like 1 AM in the morning. My phone was dying of battery. I'd broken my headlamp. I was living off the light on the front of my phone.
Yeah.
I got it there, and that's got all my directions on it as well. I tied it around my finger. I'm like, oh my god, if I don't find somebody soon, I'm screwed. I'm out of the race. And up ahead, I could see a headlamp popping around. And like, do whatever you can to get to it.
Yeah.
Somebody you can just track for a while. Gunned it, caught up, and explained the situation. And he was like, oh, well, yeah, let's just go on for a bit. Like 1 AM in the middle of the morning, pissing down rain. And we ended up running the whole thing together. We ended up doing 55 miles together, finished together, and then Chris is a friend for life now.
Yeah, that's cool, isn't it?
He came out on the Wales Coastal Path like 4 times. Lives in Bristol, like it's not an easy drive.
No.
He drives this like absolute bang up of a Land Rover. I don't know how he gets it moving every day. And he just came over and just helped me out run loads of miles with me. He's a paramedic as well, so he's a fantastic person.
Good person to have around.
Really good personality. Yeah.
Oh mate, did you have Matthew Pritchard come out?
Yeah.
With you as well, I see.
He's an absolute legend, mate.
Yeah.
Genuinely, like such a sweet chap. I don't know if you appreciate me saying that.
But no, I think like I was kind of probably I've seen a lot of like Dirk Sanchez and whatever, but probably a bit young when it was initially on.
Yeah.
But like I follow him on Instagram and like keep up with what he's doing now. Yeah, he seems like he's turned himself around massively. Yeah.
He's top bloke, seriously. He threw down a load of miles with me.
Yeah.
And I think everybody said it when he turned up, like the energy level, he just brings energy with him.
Yeah.
Like, I was battered and bruised and absolutely knackered, and he turned up, and he's like, oh, but that's probably a terrible impression of him. He probably hate me for doing that. But it was just like, immediately, it was like click, bang. It felt like somebody flicked a switch on me, and we just started running. And like the days he was there, he was just so encouraging. Like, he brought me a clip. It's only a small gesture, but when you like that broken down, my mind went to jelly. It was like I was like a child again. Literally. And the smallest gestures were like absolutely amplified. All the smallest things, like kick off, like get grumpy about certain things and whatnot.
I can only imagine, like,
I think Keris, my wife, who was the support crew, she was fantastic in dealing with me.
yeah.
I must have been like a diva by the end.
And you're usually worse with the people you're closest to as well, aren't you?
I know.
Do you find that?
Yes, completely agree with you, and I completely relate. I hate that fact, but you know, it's not that you know you can get away with it. You just know they understand you, and they know it's not coming from a horrible place. And I think the last night, because we were behind schedule, there was a point just outside of Swansea, 3 days from the end, and it's one of the bays just before Swansea, not the Mumbles, just after.
Switch Bay, or?
Could have been Oxwich, or Jackson place, it's what Barry, let's just say Oxford Bay. And they dragged me into the van, and they basically told me that our plan, our strategy was getting ripped up in front of my face, and we were going to do this new approach, like going all the way through. Like, I'm going, that's 140, 150 miles I got to do. I'm like, that's not part of my plan. I know I can do that, but there is a huge risk to that. I could break myself and we're screwed, isn't it? You know. And it was like toys out the pram, completely diva moment. Keris is there trying to not calm me down, she's just trying to speak sense to me, which is the best thing you can do really in those moments. And you've got people having different opinions. I mean, like 5 or 6 people throwing this thing at you. And you can just see your dream, your target just slowly moving away from you. But in my head, I just kept saying, I was like, I know how much time I've got left. I know I can do this hit mileage every day. I can get there if we just stick to my plan. And anyway, left that checkpoint with the mentality of, right, you're just going all the way through now. Just suck it up. You're going all the way to Chepstow. And I just remember thinking, I could easily hit rock bottom here and we're not going one step further. Anyway, by the time I reached the next checkpoint, so about 10 miles down the road, my coach had turned up. And he was furious. He was like, don't listen to anybody else, we're sticking to your game plan, we're sticking to the game plan, we're not changing it, we're just going to adapt it a little bit, you can start a bit earlier, okay? And I literally led the reins, he literally guided the ship. And like, Keris was always the format of just sticking to the plan anyway. It's just because we had different people throwing their opinions in it, sort of for a moment it got away from us.
Yeah.
And then as soon as he brought it back, it was just like, right, I felt conviction in like, I was like, well, yeah, stick to your bloody game plan because it's worked this far.
Yeah.
We're a bit off schedule, but a couple of tweaks. And ended up getting a earlier start running for the last 2 days. So the record holder at the time actually messaged me at the end, and I think he was surprised that I'd broken his record. As he said, like 2 or 3 days out, I thought, yeah, game over, I've still got my record, he's not going to beat it. And like the last couple of days, I upped it to like 50-50. Like, it was literally just like, and because I'm from Penarth, I knew running home was always going to be a massive kicker for me. I knew it was like my trump card, it was my secret sauce, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. It was just like that kicker, that boost. And I got to the Vale of Morgan just by Ogmore, so you've got the stepping stones, you cross over and then you're in the Vale. And Vale's my home county. And there were people there just like cheering me on, like literally clapping as I went over the stepping stones. Matt Pritchard was there, all my close friends were there running with me. I was like, yeah, just keep on going. I just fed off the energy. Yeah. And like, literally flying. I felt like flying. Literally, I wasn't flying. Let's just say it was. And made it to Penarth like about 12 o'clock that night. Broken just before Penarth, the wheels came off massively. Yeah. I was literally in a state. My football team turned up and they did me a guard. Like, they just all there clapping for me. And then I didn't realise they all ran with me. Like 10 of them, maybe 12 of them, all ran with me through Barry, around Barry. They must have been down about 10, 12 miles. It was about 12 miles. Yeah. And they're used to 90 minutes, aren't they? They're not used to running
90 minutes and 10 pints.
Yeah, exactly. And I just remember those guys just really looking after me. Like, a good friend, Liam, came out as well. And he literally just held the light for me, open gates. It was just absolutely, it was inspiring to see. At the time, I was just a broken mess. Got to Penarth, and they were like, well, all right, you got 4 hours, man. Now you can have a rest, you got to get up at like 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning. I'm like, I've just done 50 miles, you want me to get in 4 hours time? And I was like, right, okay. And they wouldn't let me sleep anywhere. I had to sleep in the back of the van, so it wasn't comfortable, it wasn't a bed, it was disgusting.
Bit broken sleep.
Broken, in agony. I was just going to Keris. We ended up parking on my friend's drive. She came out, she was like, I've got a spare bed if you want to come in and sleep.
Yeah.
And I'm like going, and Kairos is like, you're not allowed.
You'll never get up.
You'll never get up on time. He was staying here. And I was just like a stroppy teenager then, all through the night. I couldn't see. You know, like Kevin and Perry, I don't know if that's, it was an old TV show program.
I know it.
But I was like literally tantrums in the back of the van, like moving around and like really being over the top. I can't see. They've all factored up for me now. We're all close to the finish line. I can't believe this. Like my coach's names are just absolutely mad. I must have got a little bit of sleep, but you know when it feels like you just didn't get a wink all night. Woke up the next day like 4:30, something like that. So my coach ringing me and Karis, saying like he rang me, I didn't answer. He rang Karis, she didn't answer. He rang me, I didn't answer. He rang Karis. It was literally like tennis going back and forth.
Still asleep.
Still asleep. He's messed it up. He's not getting enough. Like, I'm gonna kill him. Anyway, he got through to us, and Karis was in the camper van, was driving me to the start whilst I was still sleeping in the back, butt naked. And we got to the start.
Just like that, innit?
Yeah, just like that in there. Because she was trying to, we got there, and I was just like, oh, just 10 more minutes. 10 more minutes. She was like, no, you're getting up. I'm like, no, just 10 more minutes. So she's like, yeah, no, I wasn't going to let the film crew in. And they're going to film you butt naked in the back of the van. I was like, oh, Christ. I literally massive grunt on me, trying to put my pants on. They opened the door, literally within seconds. They were in the van filming me. I remember trying to put on my shoes, like, and my body. My whole like functioning went out the window. Couldn't even put socks on, and I remember just getting angry, like frustrated at myself, and I just like hit the roof of the van, like Southfield, pure frustration. Like tried headbutting like the side of the van. It's just like it wasn't over the top. But you know, and you just like you know.
Yeah.
And it must have looked so daft. And like there was people waiting there for me to like run with me. Karis went out and was like, I don't think he's going to be that chatty this morning, so just let him have his own space. And then you could see them, they're like, oh Christ, I'll deal with this guy now. God knows how long.
It was so emotional though.
It was, and I started off in Penarth, my hometown, and started off, yeah, it's hurting. But then I was walking and running through places, hobbling probably, through places where I grew up. And I just like started telling stories of like what I did as a youth in certain areas, and to me I was just like having a laugh. I was like telling these pointless stories. The guys I'm with were like being polite and just saying, "Oh, that's a great story. It's probably a terrible story." It's being polite, but it passed the time, and then it got my mood up. And then I started running again, and then literally the last day I was just, it felt like I was on fire. I was just gunning it for the finish line. I was just like leaving everything out there. If I was going to get a record, like, you know, if I wasn't going to get it, I was going to die trying. You know, one of those mentalities. And then didn't realise I had the record till about 3 miles out. I never took anything for granted. But 3 miles out, my good friend Steve, who'd run like 100 miles with me for the last 3 days.
Yeah.
He was like, he sat me down. He was like, just take the moment in. This is, you've got the record. There's nothing that's going to stop you now. You've got like 2 hours to be able to get 3 miles. And I'm like, even if I broke my ankle now, I can fall that.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I got this. And then we got to the finish line. I was just like, never knew what I was going to do when I got there. In my head, so part of my game plan is every day I envisage getting to the finish line. Just a brief thought, you let it just go in your head. You're like, well, I'm going to get there, I'm going to get there, I'm going to get there, I'm going to get there. And then even like 10 steps away from the finish line, didn't know what I was going to do. I always knew I was going to hug Karis. Always 100%. I was going to hug her and like celebrate with her. But like something took over me in the last couple of steps. I mean, literally just like raw emotion. I just like tried to punch in the air and like spun around. It was like, it was just unbelievable. It just took over me completely.
Yeah. I've seen that moment out. Is that one? I think it's out there, isn't it?
Yeah,
I've seen that. Proper like I could see the emotion in you, man. It was.
I know people said like you can see it when the feet ran back on the floor. My shoulders, your body just sinks and you just know that's it. And you can see the energy just leaving the body completely. And it was just, like I say, it was one of the most satisfying moments of my life by far, if not the most satisfying.
Oh, mate.
My wedding to Karis was also the most satisfying, but in terms of achievements and challenges.
Yeah, you've got to say that.
She's outside.
Yeah, mate. Honestly, you know, can't wait to see what you're doing next.
Yeah, man. Just trying to push the body even more, go harder, go tougher.
Any big goals 2021?
Well, Badwater's been deferred to next year, so I'm going to do Badwater.
Cool, man.
Touch wood if we manage to fly again. Don't know how long that's going to be. I'm going to do something else in Wales, maybe the UK, which will be bigger, tougher, longer. It's all about just trying to push those limits a little bit further every time and do something good for charity. It's one thing which I enjoyed most about the Wales Coastal Path was Wales.
Yeah.
I know that's a really obvious statement.
Oh mate, it's an amazing place, and
But it's just different factors, man. It's like the terrain, the views, the beautiful coastal path, the sea,
Yeah.
the wildlife, but then the people. Oh my God! Like seriously, the amount of support I had on that coastal path, in the most least expected places you ever think it would pop up. It was like a friend drove all the way from Cardiff to cook me a barbecue up in North Wales.
That's wicked.
Cooked the barbecue and then drove back to Cardiff.
yeah,
A lady turned up on the bad day, on top of the cliffs, wind howling, rain, and she's just screaming my name. She brought her mum out to meet me. I'd never
Yeah.
met the lady before. It was lovely. And then the Clyn Peninsula, I think they just took it upon themselves to get me round that because it
Yeah.
was difficult. If there's one place that surprised me, it was the Clyn Peninsula. I never knew how beautiful it is, and it's absolutely stunning up there, man. And the people are just so kind and generous and giving. They would turn up and run miles and miles with me. One chap called, there was lots of chaps and ladies who like helped me, but Hugo, a chap who was like ex-services, popped up and he ran quite a few miles with me. And he was like, I've got you a gift. I was like, oh, thanks Hugo. What is it? I was thinking like the Gazade,
Yeah.
bars, maybe McDonald's. And he said, I have to get out my bag, and he pulls it out, and it's like a big white bottle, and it's like milk. He's like, oh, it's udder cream. I was like, what?
random.
Udder cream? That's random. What are you trying to say? He's like, no, we put that on our muscles up here. So the word of a lie, mate. I've tried everything for
I don't think
painkillers.
I've ever heard that.
Oh my God, that stuff numbs it completely.
Really?
It's unreal. It smells like mint, and it's not like it says. It doesn't. It's not like repackaged for humans. It says for use on cows, and all the locals up there use it for their muscles. It's seriously good.
Yeah.
Seriously good. Like he's like, just try not to get that on your nether regions because you won't ever feel them again. And I put it on the back of my arm. I was like, I can see what you mean from there. Definitely.
Do you reckon you'll get that through customs, the bad water?
I don't know. I'll try. It's magical, mate. Seriously, man. If you deep freeze, then you can come close to that. Have a go at it if you're here.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, I don't even know how I'd go about getting that. Speak to Hugo.
Or speak to your local farmer.
Yeah, that's class. That's class. Right, I think we'll leave it there, Rhys. Thank you very much for coming in, mate. Honestly, appreciate it. It's great to hear your journey, and I cannot wait to see what you do next. We'll definitely be following you. Do you want to tell people where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook. Facebook's is Rhys Jenkins. Instagram is rjenko11. I post a lot of crap on there, but every challenge is clocked on there as well. And then on Strava as well, I think it's just Rhys Jenkins. You can find me over there. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Oh, mate, honestly, it's my pleasure.
I
and
really do appreciate it.
sign up to some Pegasus races, people.
Yeah.
Legend. Cheers, mate.
No problem.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Enjoy that.